All right. Hello and welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us as a part of our Spring Career Quest. We are so glad to have you here with us. My name is Hong Nguyen, and I'm a part of the Careers and Professional Development team here at WGU. And I'm especially excited for today's session on cybersecurity careers. We are so thrilled to be joined by Dave Johnson, security engineer at Amazon and proud WGU alum. Um, Day Johnson has built an inspiring career in cybersecurity and continues to give back to the community, both through sessions like today and his very popular YouTube channel, Day Cyberwalks, where he shares clear, honest, and actionable content to help others break into this field. Today, he'll be sharing around his career journey, tips for standing out in cybersecurity, and insights on what it takes to succeed in this evolving space. I had the pleasure of meeting Day at our Dallas Impact dinner earlier this year, and it was such a pleasure to talk with him and get to know him. So I know we are in for such a great session today. So with that, Day, I will pass things over to you.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm actually very excited to be talking to everyone here today. As you already know, I am a WGU alumni or alum, and I think it's always really cool like talking to other students and just like who are just getting started in their careers or sort of with that journey. So I really hope that today I can provide some insights that will be helpful as you kind of navigate, school, and as you're moving into get into your career, whether while you're in school or after WGU. That being said, I'll give a quick intro about myself. I'm Day Johnson. Been in cybersecurity for about 5 years. Started my career in college, and I've been able to kind of move across various roles and um, um, uh, different aspects of cybersecurity, I would say. Started my career as an intern while I was in college, and then pivoted into working across various SOC positions. SOC analyst roles are pretty popular, so did that for a while before going into security engineering, specifically around cloud threat detection and SaaS applications threat detection. At my previous role at Datadog, where I was focused on detecting threats for cloud environments, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and different SaaS applications. Practically anything we could, ingest logs for. That really helped me build my security engineering skills and helped me also transition into my role at Amazon currently. So I've been at Amazon for about a year and 6 months now. My first year here at Amazon, I was part of an incident response team that is dedicated to protecting Amazon's customers. And I did that for about a year. That involved just investigations into insider threats, doing some security automation work, and investigations into fraud and abuse on Amazon's platform, done by insider threats. And then very recently, over the last 6 months, I've been working on a new team that's been focused on threat hunting, threat intelligence, and adversary emulation for the same subset of Amazon's customers and for the same sort of like industry specific vertical for Amazon because Amazon has several businesses, and this is just one of several security teams that help protect our customer. So I am also, I should clarify that my role at Amazon is very separate from AWS. So AWS is a very separate entity from Amazon. AWS is, Amazon Web Services that hosts infrastructure and all the things that you're familiar with cloud. But this is for, the Amazon the part of Amazon that helps you with your Amazon order. So your Amazon.com, your Amazon app, all of those things. My The team I work on is part of a larger security team that protects that and things like your Audible, your other Amazon subsidiaries, anything stores of Amazon, whether online or physically. Um, what I want to quickly draw out there, if you were paying attention on my journey, is you can kind of say that I've done multiple different things. I have kind of been able to move across different verticals in security, and I think one thing that a lot of people get into the industry of cybersecurity struggle with is deciding what they want to do. It's like, do I want to go to do, security operations and be a SOC analyst, or do I want to go become a pen tester or a bug bounty researcher or do cloud security or DevSecOps? Like you hear all these terms, or you're following influencers online, or you're on LinkedIn, you're seeing all these jobs. You're like, what should I do? And I kind of had a similar sort of like paradox of choice when I was starting out. It's like, what should I do? Like, what career path should I go down? And if I had known that, it's much easier to kind of pivot around by just having really good core foundational skills, I wouldn't have gotten too hung up on that when I was getting started. So I'm hoping in this session, we're able to kind of clear a little misconceptions and orient around um, building your skills and building a foundation that allows you to do anything across the cybersecurity landscape. So the reason why I chose cybersecurity career paths is so that as you're starting to think about what you want to do in cybersecurity, you don't get too hung up on you don't get overly hung up on the specifics of like, oh, I have to learn, all these things to go do SOC work or go do, pen testing or to go do threat intelligence. Like you can build foundational skills that allow you to be able to transfer your skills and experience across various verticals, and that gives you a lot more opportunity and wiggle room as you build your cybersecurity career. So that's what I'm hoping to help with in this session, which is why I wanted to focus on cybersecurity career paths. So um, let's get started with the basics first, and I'll try to go over everything I want to go over so that we have enough time for questions and more specifics, because I want this to be as interactive as possible. So when you're thinking about your cybersecurity career, um, wherever you're getting started from, whether it's like from no experience at all, or you've had a couple of certifications under your belt through WGU, whether it's like your CompTIA certifications or some that you might have done on your own, or maybe some experience in IT, or some college coursework. Um, One of the core aspects of what you're doing in this period, right, before you get into cybersecurity or into a specific cybersecurity role, is building foundational skills. Um, there's hardly any video or any conversation that I'm going to have with anyone who wants to get into cybersecurity without starting with foundational skills. And I think it's it's very easy to kind of get derailed from really focusing on what matters, because there's so much to learn and there's so much you can get distracted by. There's so much that you can kind of like, tangentially just go off on and just like waste a lot of time on because it's more interesting than the foundational skills. But I want to emphasize that if you get the foundations like very well done. If you get the foundations down, you will have so much more wiggle room. You have so much more opportunity to choose what you want to do, whether you're in at the beginning of a career or later down the line. 5 years into my career now, I'm seeing all of the fruits of how much having a strong foundation can be, because I'm able to go from, working on a SOC to doing cloud security and doing SaaS, threat detection that I've never done it before, which is pretty niche, to, moving to Amazon where I'm doing instant response, for a while, and then now going to doing, threat hunting and threat intelligence and, adversary emulation, which even tends, further from defensive to offensive. And I can only attribute that to strong foundational skills. So if we're talking about strong foundational skills, what are those foundational skills? Well, it's not anything shiny. It's the boring stuff, really, right? And that's why a lot of times it's very easy to skip over this. Usually, well, not usually, but several years ago, when the cybersecurity industry was booming, there was this sort of like certification or trajectory path that people used to recommend with CompTIA, which is also, I think, very well baked into WGU's program. Going through the CompTIA A plus, Network plus, Security plus, and the reason why that was the case, then and even up till now is because those certifications contain subject matter that allows you to learn um, those foundational skills in a particular order. So A plus covers a lot of like foundational IT concepts like software, hardware stuff, learning about basics of like memory, CPU, learning about, troubleshooting, learn about some basic networking stuff, some basic like DNS troubleshooting, learn about storage, learn like computer hardware, all of those things, right? That because that's where it starts from. That's um, uh, the lowest level of abstraction of anything that we're doing, right? Like any system you're protecting or you're breaking into or you're investigating, at its core is some sort of hardware, right? Like all software needs some hardware to, to be installed on, right? That's the lowest level of abstraction. So you would usually start from the A plus, and then you'll learn about all the hardware stuff and all the software stuff, and then move on to Network plus, where you learn more about networking, IP addressing, right? Because these hardware components have to send information between each other. They have to, communicate with each other. They have to be connected somehow because, of what use is information if it can't move between, different systems, right? So that's where networking comes into place. And Network Plus would teach you all of these, networking concepts. I forgot to mention that the A Plus also teaches you about operating systems and all those things. And then you have the Security Plus, which then builds on those two levels of abstraction of, hardware, software, operating systems, and then networking, and then now you learn about like the security stuff that is sort of a external layer of all the other lower level stuff. So um, with what I want to point out there is like, um, as much as that stuff seems like pretty mundane and not as interesting as like Nmap or Splunk or whatever whatever thing out there, it's what is going to help you to better understand all these other things, right? So I want to first emphasize the importance of foundational skills. Um, because like I said, it would give you a lot of it would give you a very solid bedrock that you the rest of your career, whatever you decide to start with or even pivot into later on, will be built on. So I can't emphasize that enough. The next aspect of like your cybersecurity career path I want to talk about is experimentation, especially when I get it started. So again, I think another thing that, like I said, the same thing that, like I said, individuals that are getting started usually struggle with is like, what should I learn, right? What should I learn for the roles I want to get into, right? Sometimes it's very easy to decide that if you're already like from the start, you're like, I want to become a stock analyst, I want to become a pen tester, I want to become a threat intelligence analyst, or I want to become a whatever, right? A cloud security engineer. If you already know that from the start, it's great because you can start learning all the skills to go in that direction. But if you're just very new to the cybersecurity world, it's very easy to just get lost in like okay, so like what now, like what do I learn to figure out what I want to do, right? It's like I haven't figured it out, so how do I know what I want to do without like getting into like maybe offensive security and realizing I don't want to do that, or getting into defensive security and realizing I didn't want to do that. This is where experimentation comes into place, and I think now more than ever before, experimentation is extremely cheap, extremely affordable, extremely accessible. The reason why I say that is because, I didn't have to go through this, but I definitely experienced like a portion of this, before the whole security landscape changed. Like right when I was getting into the industry, where we were kind of moving from like, traditional home labs and hardware to, security training providers that are basically providing you all of those things that you would have to manually set up and build at home, all in the cloud, all accessible through your browser. So like prior to very recently, as in 5, 6, 7 years ago, like for you to experiment to figure out what you wanted to do, you'd have to have these huge server racks at home and have all these big servers and networking equipments to help you practice like virtualization or practice using a hypervisor or learn about switching and routing, right? I did that myself. I very early in my career, I bought a bunch of networking equipment from Cisco, and had it in my room, and it was so hot because I would leave that thing running every single day, because I had, the switches and routers on all the time, and my room was so small, and just having those things on all the time was just probably like running up my electric bill and all of that stuff. But my point there is that, um, you know, you know, in these previous years, you had to have like those physical hardware devices for you to practice and get good and understand, and figure out what you wanted to do, right? And those things were costly, whether it's like whether it was purchasing those equipment, or whether it was like, powering them with your, electricity. It was expensive to do that, right? You're probably spending, upwards of multiple $100s, or maybe even more if you're going crazy with it. But all of a sudden, we experienced this industry shift where there are several lab platforms out there that you're able to access labs for a very minute fraction of the price you would spend on physical hardware. Like some platforms, allow you to be a paid subscriber for as low as less than $10 a month, right? And you're able to access hundreds or maybe even thousands of labs from your browser. So the point there is experimentation is as cheap as it's ever been. It's never been cheap and accessible, to experiment and figure out what you wanted to do. You don't have to set up a whole physical server rack with Active Directory forest to figure out how to, how to break into an Active Directory system to understand how an attacker thinks. Now you can just go on a platform like TryHackMe or Hack the Box, and for X amount of dollars a month, you're able to access an entire forest, an entire or multiple forests or domains of Active Directory configurations, and all these systems for you to learn and to build all these skills. So if you, and it's also, beyond it being, affordable and accessible, it's also very low commitment as well, right? Like you're not going through all of these extra steps to actually be able to get started, right? So you can go in there, play around with Active Directory, play around with Splunk, play around with all these things, and you don't have to have the commitment of like, oh, I've bought all these things, now I have to really go down this route, right? If you play around with Splunk, or play around with, an Active Directory environment, or play around with some malware on any of these platforms, like if you eventually find out that, oh, this is not something I'm actually interested in or I want to do, you can close out that lab and go into another one. There's like hundreds of other ones to play around with. So what I want to really emphasize on experimentation is it's as accessible as possible. It's as affordable as possible. It's as low commitment as possible. So there's no reason why, in deciding your career path, you should not be leveraging all these, different resources to experiment and decide on what you want to do. If I had to go over again and try to figure out, okay, like how do I kind of see if I'm really interested in all of this stuff, I'd go on TryHackMe or any platform, and I'm not endorsing any specific platform. I'm just, saying the most popular ones. Like I would go on any of these platforms and try stuff out, right? And see, oh, do I really find this interesting? Would I want to do this on a day-to-day basis? And if so, now you have something that's piqued your interest and can keep going down that path. So, with regards to like how you're thinking of approaching your cybersecurity career path, let experiment, like enjoy the fun of experimentation. One of the best things about getting started is like you have the latitude to not know and to experiment, and there's fun in that experimentation. And once you strike gold, once you figure out, oh, this thing actually interests me a lot, I want to keep doing this, it's much easier to go down that path, and eventually maybe build a career out of that, or build, some skills around that could help you with other things, which I'm going to get into pivoting, in with regards to cybersecurity career paths. Now, on that same point, with experimentation and the career paths in cybersecurity, there's another cautionary tale I want to bring in here, and it's the illusion of choice, right? there is like I should probably do some research into like how many unique cybersecurity job roles are out there, but there is probably hundreds or even possibly thousands of unique cybersecurity roles you can do that this individual does like very specific things up to people who are specialized in like cryptology, like building like encryption systems, right? Which is just very, very crazy. But because of all of these different, career paths or careers you can go for, there's this illusion of choice, but which also very much ties into the analysis paralysis that is very much the theme of what I'm talking about. So from your experimentation, if you figure out that there's something that you like doing, take that thing and get good at it. Getting good at it doesn't make you stuck in that particular career choice you make, because I'm gonna go into like the fact that the skills you gain from one particular cybersecurity career path is easily transferable, and makes it easier to move around. So don't get so hung up on choosing something because you don't want to get stuck. Like if you get good at one thing in cybersecurity, it's usually easier to pick up other skills, and those skills help you move around or help you to even become a stronger cybersecurity professional across various verticals. So after experimenting, decide or like choose something you want to do. If you're very quick to like identify something and it's like, oh, this one really speaks to me, go for it. If not, if you've done this for quite a while, you're like, man, like it's been 6, 7, 8 months and I still don't know what I want to do, that's totally fine. Pick something and see if you can get good at it. And then you'll come to find out that the skills you're gaining from this thing, even if it doesn't end up being what you do for a career, it's easily transferable to other aspects, right? Let me give you a practical example. So let's say you started your career, let's say you started, your learning journey, while you're doing school and all these things, and you're experimenting, and you're like, okay, like obviously, like I like this whole like ethical hacking thing. I want to learn more about how to like how attackers break into systems so I can better secure them, right? So you just go down this route of like learning a lot about offensive security, and you just keep going and just keep going, and you eventually end up at some point in your learning journey and experimentation, realizing that I don't really want to do this for a career. I don't really want to spend my days like running mmap scans and waiting to find vulnerabilities. I'd rather really be building detections for them. I'd rather really be investigating threats, right? Well, all of that time and effort spent in learning all these offensive security skills is not lost, because now you have a very strong understanding of how the attacker thinks, how the attacker breaks into systems, how the attacker moves around, like what vulnerabilities exist, what attack paths. So now, if you then decide, okay, let me go the other route, let me go into building detections for them, you have a very huge piece of the puzzle that can help you become, better at building detections for, the systems that you want to secure, right? So that's a very good example of like, it's like all is not lost, time is not lost, effort is not lost because you went down this route, right? You're better off like, you know, like going down this route than being so scattered in your learning and in what you're doing that you don't really get good at anything. So I always recommend pick something, get good at it. If you don't end up doing that thing, what you've learned so far is easily transferable to another aspect of cybersecurity, as to where you're like, oh, like I might even it might even require a little bit less time to pick up these skills because I've already learned so much here that I just need to learn, these auxiliary skills that can help me, get better or pick up this particular skill set a lot better. And that same point is, keeping in mind that the cybersecurity industry is one that is very, very open to pivoting. Excuse me, my throat was getting dry. It's very open to pivoting because um, what's the goal of cybersecurity? What's the goal of any security team? Protect the business, protect the customer, right? How does that goal get accomplished? Right? Through various things, whether it's risk or offensive security or defensive security or GRC, whatever it is. the end goal is still the same thing. It's to protect the business and protect the customer and data and all those things. So if you get started in one area, like I said, those skills can help you pivot around, and just really help you have a lot more flexibility and choice in your cybersecurity career path. What I think I really want to emphasize in this section is that um, you're not stuck in one thing. Like you don't ever feel like you can't choose something because maybe it's going to be a waste of time or effort because it ends up being something you didn't want to do. Whatever skills you learn are easily transferable. So make a decision about what you want to do. The faster, the better, really, because that way you can easily decide on what you don't want to do, right? I've come to learn that sometimes figuring out what you want to do, whether in career or in life, comes from sometimes finding out what you don't really want to do. So it's much easier if you just, do something about it. The last aspect of cybersecurity career paths that I want to talk about, especially with folks who are getting started in their career, and it is one that I know that could be pretty difficult. But I also want to just make sure that folks start thinking about it and how they approach it. It's mentorship, and I want to emphasize that mentorship could be formal or informal. Um, One of the things that has really helped me a lot in my career is being mentored, or seeking mentorship from people that I was like, I think I would really like to learn more about how they got to this point, or I would really like to be around this person so um, uh, I could understand how I could apply some things that have gotten them to this point in my own journey as well. And I want to emphasize again, mentorship could be formal or informal. It could also be direct or indirect. So let's talk about formal and informal mentorship briefly. With formal mentorship, right, you're usually like, meet someone and you're like, hey, like, could you please mentor me? Or they're like, hey, like, I love what you're doing. Like, I would really love to guide you and mentor you in your journey, right? That is sometimes how mentorships happen. I personally, my first mentor, it was sort of informal how our mentorship, relationship began. Like we just, started a conversation and eventually you started working together at the same company, and then he's just been in my career, like the whole time. Just like I would just ask him questions, and he would really help me out with all of his years of experience and all of his wisdom, and that really helped me out a lot. But my second mentor in my career was also someone I'd worked with as well. But I actually asked this person if they'll be willing to mentor me because I really loved like certain aspects of how they approach their career, and I was like, hey, I like this specific thing about how you do work or how you think about cybersecurity, and I'd really love to learn more about that. Would you be open to mentoring me, right? So like you can see like the informal, formal sort of like difference there, right? It could happen either ways. So I've and also like some of these mentors have continued to become friends and even just like colleagues in different formats. But for some seasons, they were actual mentors for me. So it could happen either formally or informally. So don't get too hung up on like the title or on the form. As long as you're being poured into, you're being impacted, or like you're learning something. The relationship you might have with someone might be a mentorship. Now, on that same breath, like the mentorship could either be direct or indirect, right? There are people that I work with or that I know or interact with that have some sort of indirect mentorship towards me because I look to them to learn about certain things, or I look to them, for example, at Amazon, like I could look to someone for mentorship and like and their mentorship to me is like helping me understand like how security works at Amazon, like how the different teams work, how the different tools work. I've never asked this person or these people to mentor me, but I can go to them regularly for information or guidance on specific things, and they are able to mentor me in one way or another, right? So like I said, it could be either direct or indirect, right? And indirect mentorship could be, from people that you follow, or that you watch online, or that maybe interact with passively, right? But don't get too hung up on like this person is like talking to me every day, or I have this person on my beck and call, and I can ask them any question. Like that's great to have. In a second, I'll tell you how you could actually how you can better your chances of having that. But don't get too hung up again on the format, the methodology, or how it started, or whatever the case is. Like someone could be your mentor formally or informally, or they could be your mentor directly or indirectly. Now, to better your chances of getting a mentor that is truly invested in you, and can really help you across your career, because I really owe a lot of like making great decisions in my career to my various mentors, whether directly or indirectly or formally or informally. But those usually have come from something I've learned, that usually mentorships are like situations where like you're not paying your mentor, right? Like you're not like you really don't have much per se to offer your mentor. They're usually the ones who are like pouring into you. So it's usually something that they're doing out of the kindness of their heart, and also out of just an interest in helping you grow. So when someone is doing something, just unpaid, uncompensated, right? The more interested they are in you as a person, um, the more value you would tend to get from that mentorship over someone who's just like who you just reach out to me, who you just reach out to me, you're like, hey, can you mentor me? And they're like, yeah, sure. Like that could work, but sometimes you might not really get value out of it, right? You do want someone who's truly invested in you, in your growth. And the way I've found that that's worked out and that's happened is when a mentor sees that you are proactive, you take initiative, right? They have more of an inclination to want to do that. I've had people, that have offered to mentor me because they saw like my initiative and my and me being proactive, that it was like to them it was like, oh, like if you're already taking this extra step, let me just give you this little push that you need to go even further, right? Because I can see the trajectory you're going on, and I think like with I have a little bit of something here to offer you. So the more proactive and the more initiative you take, the more like you're able to show that I'm able to do some things on my own. The more usually interested that the mentor is in you, because it's like they essentially don't have to be like the person dragging you along, right? They don't have to like constantly tell you what to do, right? Mentors want mentees who are proactive and who take initiative. So if you're already taking an initiative, your mentor is more inclined to even help you have more velocity and momentum with what you're doing by just helping you like maybe like avoid certain mistakes, or pointing you in a different direction or in the right direction, or being a sounding board for different things, because you're taking an initiative. So the more initiative you're able to take, the more proactive you're able to be, the more you're able to actually show that um, you have the ability to take steps on your own, the more usually your mentor is inclined to want to sort of guide you and help propel you and give you some velocity in what you're doing. So in whatever way that could be, just take initiative, show initiative, is what I'm trying to say there. And it could be very, very helpful and beneficial with your cybersecurity career, choosing a path and going along the right direction. So just to bring a summary of everything, I would have loved to talk about like specific cybersecurity career paths, but I think there's a lot of information out there on it. But just to summarize quickly, like your foundational skills are super important, right? Don't skip on that. Um, Experimentation helps you to sort of um, um, uh, uh, decide on what you want to do or not want to do, or to sort of play around, in a very accessible, affordable, and low commitment manner, so that you can decide, what you enjoy doing. And the next thing is do not get too hung up on choosing something, right? Pick something, get good at it. You don't get stuck by doing that. This transferable skills you get from getting good at something in cybersecurity make it easier to move around. And in cybersecurity, it's such an industry that really, really supports pivoting. You can find yourself today doing intelligence and tomorrow doing offensive security, right? Because of transferable skills, not direct skills, but transferable skills. And finally, mentorship, right? In whatever way you can, try to seek mentorship, whether formally or informally, or directly or indirectly. It would yield a lot of dividends in your career. And don't get too hung up on the title of mentorship or on the format it comes in. Whichever way, if you're getting value out of the relationship or out of what you're learning from, this individual, this mentor, that person is a mentor to you. Um, and with that being said, that's really all I had for you today. Feel free to, start asking questions. I want to be as interactive as possible, and we can go deeper into anything specific anyone had questions about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave, for all that great insight there. If anyone has questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. I know we already have a couple, so I'll make sure to touch on those. And then if you did want to come off mute, you could raise your hand and we can pass the mic over to you. So, this first one I have, do you have to be AWS certified in order to work for Amazon?
No, you do not.
Oh,
So yeah, you don't have to be AWS certified. Some roles might require it just because they're more maybe AWS specific, but you do not have to be AWS certified.
all right. Thank you for that question there. Next one from Brian. Why is it so hard to get into any security related roles? And what do you suggest I do to overcome that challenge as an experienced IT and security professional?
That's a great question. I know like um, as the years have gone by, it's been more and more challenging to get into security. So, to answer that question, with already having IT experience, you're kind of ahead, in terms of like trajectory. But I want to also say that there's a lot more competition now, right? Because like cybersecurity roles are in very high demand. So usually when you're looking into cybersecurity roles, what sets you apart from everybody else, right? Because it's one job, whether or not 2 million people apply to that job, only one person is going to get that job, right? So what are you doing to make yourself a strong candidate, right? What certifications are you taking, right? Are those certifications relevant to the jobs you're applying for? What skills are you building? Like, what projects are you building, right? What are you doing with your network, right? There's so many pieces that come together with getting a cybersecurity job, especially in this more competitive landscape. So I would say, wherever you are in your job search or in trying to get a job, assess what you have and assess like the fact that there are several other people who have the exact same thing that you have or even more. So what can you be doing to just set yourself apart from the rest, of the competition? Because everyone else is also a lot of people are also thinking of the same things, right? So ultimately, it's sort of competitive, but there are things you can practically do to increase your chances of getting the job you're looking to get.
Awesome. Next question here from Jennifer. Would it be helpful to use a headhunter?
Um, it, I haven't had I've never used a headhunter for any role. I Given that you might have to pay a headhunter, I wouldn't recommend it. I would stick to uh, you know, general job boards like LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, or even direct company sites because they usually have the listings on their job boards directly. Um, but it might be different if you're like in a much higher role. If you're in a maybe like executive role, that it might be helpful. But I think for general cybersecurity roles, you can get a lot of value from what's available and free.
Awesome. Another one here from Huang. Thank you so much for sharing such useful insight. I have a quick question. Is not having a US citizenship a barrier to getting a job in cybersecurity? What if they only currently have a green card?
That's a great question, and I actually got my first cybersecurity job with a green card. I'm now a U.S. citizen, but it's not a barrier at all. I would tell you that if you are going for cleared positions, like positions that deal with government, you do have to be a citizen. But for most other roles, like as long as you're legally authorized to work in the U.S., it's not a barrier at all. A lot of times, well, some applications do ask for your citizenship, But usually they only care about the fact that you are legally authorized to work in the U.S. And if you have a green card, you are legally authorized. So it's never been a barrier for me. Most of my career was actually like as a green card holder, so I had never had any issues with that. And I think same for several other people that I know as well.
Awesome. Thanks for that question, Huang. And then, Chris, I did drop Amazon's career page on there, but he asked, are you currently hiring for any roles? If so, are they only for students or can professionals apply who are currently in cyber?
Yeah, I know Amazon's hiring for several security roles. My team is hiring for several security roles. My org in general is hiring for several security roles. So, yeah, a lot of the roles are open to cybersecurity professionals. I do know that there should be some internship roles open to students as well. I would if you I would not be don't be discouraged to apply to full-time roles as a student either. But if you're interested in internships, there should be internship positions open as well.
Awesome. Next one here. What underrated skills and roles do you recommend on focusing on so to get better? Sorry. What underrated skills and roles do you recommend on focusing on or getting better in?
Underrated skills. I think really the most underrated skill, I would say, and it's probably the answer you're looking for, is the skill of learning how to learn. The better you are at learning how to learn, and learn how to learn fast, the easier a lot of things would be for you. Like if you know how to learn well or learn fast, you can pick up any or most skills pretty easily. It wouldn't matter whatever skill or role that you're going for or you need to learn, you would be able to just learn it fast. So I'd say whatever whatever you can do to get better at learning and learning fast is what you should be focusing on, because that way you can really learn anything.
Awesome. Next one here. I wanted to ask how much coding is involved in your current position.
So my current position, I would say like it really depends on like the week or the sprint, but I'd say probably around like 30-40% as of now. That could change to even more later on. A lot of what we use is like custom applications. So like some weeks I could be deep in VS Code, writing code. Some weeks I'm doing hunts or writing documents. So how much code is needed, or how much experience with code is needed. If you're able to like write scripts, like simple scripts, know basic Python, functionality like functions, loops, control flow, all of those things, you should be good. But I would say like it really depends on the sprint. Like I could have some sprints where I'm very heavily focused on building some custom tooling or automation, some sprints where I'm more focused on like some more like general security or administrative tasks. I can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Sorry about that. Okay.
No
What
worries.
advice do you have for someone currently studying cybersecurity at WGU and aiming to work at Amazon? What key experiences and skills helped you stand out to an Amazon recruiter?
Oh, that's a great question. I think some of my previous work experience definitely helped. I'd say the bar for Amazon is like pretty high. So it definitely helped that I had like, like some years of experience under my belt alongside some other excuse me, alongside some other skills as well. I'd say as someone who is in WGU, I'd say definitely the coursework you're going through, definitely understand it in depth. Like really, like if you're going through like like your network plus, right, for example, right? I know there's a class for like networking. If you're going through that, like don't just like try to get through it as fast as possible. Like truly spend time understanding those concepts, right? To go to Security Plus, to really spend time understanding those things, right? I think the better your depth of understanding, the easier it is for you, especially at the entry level. because if you don't have that like usually at the entry level, it's the application of like the basic understanding that you have that helps, right? I would say, definitely like really try to deeply understand what you're learning. And I would say build a strong network for sure. Um, if possible, right? Like I'm not saying it's impossible to get into Amazon directly. I know people who have done it, and you can do it. It's very possible. But there's also nothing wrong in like building some experience at some smaller companies or local companies, and in the meantime, building your skills and being able to like kind of just build up a little bit more before going for like more challenging or bigger tech roles, because a lot of times like that really helps a lot, because you're usually thrown into the deep end once you come in, right? And sometimes like if you're able to, it's easier that you can pick it up, but sometimes if we're not able to, so I just recommend having some. I had some experience in my under my belt, and that helped a whole ton. I usually recommend that, but it's not impossible to go to get an Amazon job directly. I would just say build very strong skills, be very good at communication. I would say learn how to code. Usually Python is usually recommended, and like find a way. Also find ways to demonstrate your knowledge as well. Like whether it's like projects on GitHub or having a personal portfolio website. All of those things help. The stronger you are across various things in security, the better your chances of getting an interview and then eventually getting a role.
Yes, those are great reminders. Thank you, Day. I see a comment here from Shantae. You missed the part about mentorship. This is being recorded, so we'll make sure to send that out and you can watch that part back. Next question here from Brittany. How do you recommend staying sharp and current in a field that evolves so quickly?
Mm. That's a very great question. I would say first and foremost, like have some sort of um like news feed or something or that you use to keep a pulse of what's going on in the industry. For me, it's like different newsletters that I'm able to like follow to kind of see like what are the new attacks, what are attackers doing, how are they evolving. Like it keeps me in the loop of what's going on, right? That's like usually like the newsletters I follow help me with that. I also have like in my Discord, I have like a feed that sends the entire Discord like new news of like specific actors or threats coming in or happening around a period of time. Podcasts are also great. I think there's a security news podcast. I think from N2K Networks. Cyber News podcast is a great one as well. They have a really great rundown. Cytonic on YouTube is also another one. There are several like things that kind of help you keep a pulse of what's going on. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is like skills, right? Like with like code or AI, right? It's like how do you keep up to up in that pace of speed with things? I would say personally, I've found that if I can figure out a way to apply, you know, like the new stuff happening at my job, it's easier for me to learn it because I'm like, oh, like there's this new thing like this, like MCP servers, for example. Well, like, are there any approved MCP servers at work? I can test it. I can figure out how they work, and can I use them in my day-to-day workflows? That helps me keep keep up to date on like how these things work and how they can be useful with LLMs. Like, do I have some tooling at work that I'm building or I'm working on that could I could maybe integrate some LLM workflows to that make some API calls to XYZ. Like the faster you're able to apply like some of these things that are happening so fast, the easier it is to keep pace of. And also sometimes it's just home labbing, like if deploying something at home to just test out and play around with. But it's you can't keep up with everything, so definitely try to pick and choose what you care to keep up on, so that way you're not burning yourself out.
Yes. Next one here. Do you need cybersecurity specific job experience for cybersecurity jobs, or would any IT experience such as help desk work?
No, the short answer is no. I know a lot of people who have transitioned from help desk roles into cybersecurity. I actually have a whole podcast episode about about 6 people that I interviewed that went through their how they went from help desk into cybersecurity. So it is very possible. There, you just have to have like take intentional steps that allow you to translate that IT experience into cybersecurity, but it's not impossible.
Awesome. Next one here. I'm a computer science major. Are you open to mentoring anyone? If so, can I connect through LinkedIn? And Day, if you're okay with it, I can definitely drop your LinkedIn in the chat here. As
Yeah.
folks click into Day's LinkedIn, I'm sure you'll notice he has about 44,000 followers and a bunch more connections. And so a lot of times when we have WG alumni and presenters join on and share this great insight, they're graciously doing it with their own time. Um, they also get contacted a ton, and so the availability might not be there. But from following their content, I know that Dave posts a lot of videos, articles that help you stay up to speed, things that are trending and constantly on the rise. And so I think following him would be a great step to stay up to date with those things there. Next question from April: what type of
Real
business
quick, if I may,
opportunities? Oh, yeah, yeah.
if I may add on to that, sorry to cut you off, but I usually don't like take on like direct mentorship requests. But so all of you know, probably in a few weeks, I will be posting a video, making a video and post about a mentorship program that I'm doing. No strings attached at all. I plan to take on a mentor for 6 months to a year. I'll be making a post about that. There's going to be some like criteria for it with regards to experience and just like time commitment on the mentee's end. So if you're on LinkedIn, you definitely get the post whenever it comes out. So keep an eye out for that.
Yes, I saw that. It's in celebration of you hitting 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that's huge. That's an exciting opportunity. I'll make
Yeah.
sure to share out Day's LinkedIn and then a link to your post talking about that mentorship opportunity. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, next one here. What type of business opportunities in cybersecurity do you see for entrepreneurs?
That's a great question. I think they're different opportunities like with consulting. Um, whether you're doing like risk assessments for small businesses, whether you're doing like offensive security assessments or digital forensic services. I think it really depends on like what you have the skills and appetite for, and then also like what you desire to do. But you can go for risk or being a retainer for forensic services. You can do offensive security services. You could do cloud security services. A lot of businesses are in the cloud now. You could help them with their cloud security. There's You could also even maybe help maybe high profile clients on their physical security or operational security, and some people do that as well. But there are several. There's obviously also content creation as well. Making content is also for some a business. It really just depends on the skills you have and what you have the appetite and ability to provide services for.
Awesome. Next one here from Vanessa. Day, can you share if you feel your degree has helped you be ready for your job?
Yeah, honestly, one of the best things uh, uh, about WGU, first and foremost, is just like the ability to gain knowledge while applying knowledge, right? That was one of the best things that really helped me, like while I was like going to school and also like working full time. As I was gaining some of the knowledge I was learning, I was applying it at work. I remember very specifically in I graduated with the IT Bachelor's of Science in IT, and there were two SQL classes, and I'd recently had to start working with SQL at my previous role, and as I was learning SQL, in school, I was applying like what I was learning to some SQL queries I was building, at my previous role, and even I still use that skill to like now, like with like actually using SQL for writing queries for a lot of big data. So I would say like specific things you learn definitely help with your role, but also the ability to like be able to learn and immediately apply is so invaluable. So I'd say like that's like I've definitely seen value, a lot of value, immediate value in my WGU degree.
Awesome. Thank you, Day. And last one here from Seth. And Seth, I did share that video too. A lot of these great questions, I found those topics on Day's videos, so I try to share those out too, but you can find all of those on his YouTube channel. But last one here from Seth. What specific skills or tools do you recommend mastering first for someone breaking into cybersecurity from a non-traditional ground?
Yeah, like I said, foundational skills, like learn, IT fundamentals, like learn the basic, software, hardware stuff, operating systems, like, how do operating systems work? How, like what's the difference between user space and kernel space, like whether it's for Linux or for Windows, like how do different systems communicate? How does encryption work? Networking, IP addressing, routing, like these, core concepts that a lot of people feel like they never apply, they actually have a lot of universal application in cybersecurity. So learning those foundational things first, and then I would say spend some time like learning how to script or program, whether it's like Bash, PowerShell, or Python. These days, a lot of applications are also being built in Go as well. So um, definitely having some, like scripting chops under your belt helps. And I'd also say, right, the biggest thing that that will be very helpful to you is the faster you're able to apply what you learn, the better it sticks and the easier it is for you to build on that. So whether that application is like with labs or with like, getting a job, whether it's help desk or networking or a security job, the faster you're able to apply what you learn, the better it sticks, and the better you're able to like, build on that. So as you learn theory, try to apply it as well. So that way you're not just learning, you're not just reading a book or watching a video. You're able to easily remember that concept because you used it in something, whether it was a lab or in your real day job. And that really, really helps a lot.
Awesome. Thank you, Day. And thank you all for the great questions and the great engagement. A lot of good messages on thank you, Day. Learned so much grateful advice. Thanks for your time. Appreciate your knowledge. So we'll go ahead and conclude today's session. If you do think of a question later on, you can always email us and we'll make sure that gets answered. But we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you all so much for joining and engaging in the conversation. Be on a lookout for that follow-up email. We'll send the recording along with that quick survey. I did drop it in the chat as well. It's just 2 questions, and your input helps us continue to improve and bring these great sessions your way. And of course, we'd like to extend a big WGU thank you to you, Day, for sharing your time and wisdom and encouragement with the WGU. Your journey and transparency and commitment to helping others grow in cybersecurity is truly appreciated. We'll be sharing Day's YouTube channel, where he has built over a community of 50,000 subscribers, where he shares insightful real world videos on the evolving field of cyber. So make sure you check that out as well. Thank you again, everyone, for joining, and we hope to see you at upcoming sessions and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. See you.